So quick announcement, okay? I'll probably do videos like this until I get a new laptop. I've been having like a lot of different connection issues and all that stuff. Um, but what I wanted to talk to you guys about is the fact that MYC nailed another forecast. Okay, we've been talking about it since the Tampa conference in 2022. You go on my videos in 2022, I started forecasting the fact that we would start seeing a bond market crisis, much like 1994. And when that happens, we're going to start seeing other countries start to dump dollars, and that's going to eventually crash the dollar. Now, I didn't know that tariffs were going to be the reason, but personally, I think tariffs are just the excuse because CPI and inflation is going to continuously go up. And because it's going to go up, that means that inflation is going to supersede the yield of what the bond yields can offer. And they're already offering quite a bit of money, but at the end of the day, inflation's a lot higher than what they're actually broadcasting about. So who's going to buy it, right? So again, today we had Canada announce that they're going to start dumping bonds, and on that news, the dollar fell from I don't know. I think we were at 106. We're at 103 now, and they only filed for it. So there's still more damage to be done to the dollar, and that's just one country. And Canada is really not that big of an economy. They're not that big of a debt holder for the U.S. Japan is the biggest debt holder. Now, you might think, China was a big contender, but they've already liquidated most of their holdings. I think they're down to 600 or 800 billion dollars now. But Japan, I believe, is at 1.1 trillion. So, as we get further in, you have to really understand that they have the most to gain out of this trade. Okay. Think about it from a trader's perspective. The yen is at the best exchange rate for the dollar ever. Okay. They could get 160x per dollar that they own in US dollar debt. They have $1.1 trillion. So 1.1 trillion times 160. That's a fucking big trade. Okay. They have the most to gain out of this. So Japan is going to end up being the biggest story, and you're going to hear about it. Okay. So Canada may be the story right now. China may have been the story in 23 and 24. And again, you guys haven't experienced bull cycle gains yet. You guys, with us in 23 and 24, the most gains that we saw between all our picks, I would say would be we saw 10x, 20x, we saw 70x, we saw some 4 and 8x's, but those are still minuscule multipliers for what a real bull cycle will give you. Okay, real bull cycles, you're seeing 100 or 1,000x. Okay, so I know you guys, well, I know a lot of people out there want to pretend they've been here for a while, and we know you haven't, okay? Because nobody remembers you calling any of the old fucking dinosaur picks, okay? So, like fucking Cosmos and Die and fucking ETH. I mean, like a lot of people weren't here for $80 ETH, okay? So, keep in mind, the gains are coming, all right? And keep in mind, we're a bull cycle isn't we're not gonna have a bull cycle simply because the Fed is gonna print. Okay, the Fed can print, they can cut rates, and that's one variable. Okay, that's one variable in which the market could rally. Okay, that's one variable. But you could still inflate the dollar by either cutting rates or reducing holders of bonds or reducing holders of US dollar debt or US dollars. So you could have the same effect of a rate cut by reducing US dollar holder count. Think about it. BRICS nation doesn't want to hold dollars. Canada just got through saying they're going to start dumping bonds. We've already said that we're going to put tariffs everywhere. So they're going to follow suit. And think about it from a trader's perspective. Japan could do a 160x per dollar on their bond holdings. They got more than $1 trillion. Okay. Also, we're at a oversaturation in the dollar. The fact that we're over 100 cents is the baseline in which all assets are measured, the US dollar reserve currency, okay? The fact that we're at 103, the fact that we were at 106, 110, whatever. Think about it from a trader's perspective. Let's say my name's Japan, your name is Germany, our friend over there, their name is China. Our other friend over there is Russia. You know, we're all in the same trade. We're all holding US dollar tokens. And we're looking at the best value of the dollar. And it's right now. The best dollar, or the best value of the dollar is right now at 103. So we all know, we're all staring at each other. We all know CPI is going up. We all know inflation is projected to go up. We all know that the bonds that we're holding, okay, the yields are not going to produce enough money and revenue to compensate for the inflation percentage that we're going to anticipate. So we're all looking at each other. If I dump first, I make the most money out of my bond holdings. I make the most money out of the US dollars that I hold because I get the best exchange rate because I'm selling at 103. It's going to be a race. It's going to be a currency war, but it's going to be more of a currency race to see who gets out of the dollar the fastest. And the BRICS nation is going to do it. But, you know, I think the biggest story is going to be Japan. It's not going to be Canada or it's not going to be China. It's going to be one of our allies, okay? And who knows the way the US will eventually spin it. But what's crazy about this is I've been talking about this for 3 years. And I know for a fact that none of you motherfuckers know one person in this sector, one person in finance that has called this, okay? I literally called this on record 2022 at the Tampa conference, exactly the way this was going to roll out, the bond market crisis, exactly why the fucking countries were going to start dumping bonds, okay? Now, I didn't anticipate the tariffs. I will say that. I didn't anticipate the tariffs, but I still think the tariffs are an excuse because at the end of the day, CPI was going to go up anyway. CPI is going a lot hotter from here. And because it's going to go a lot hotter from here, I do feel like that's more than enough reason to say, well, if the bonds I'm holding is not going to produce the yield, well, then why the fuck am I going to hold the bond? I'd rather just sell for the exchange rate of 103. Do you get it? So I'd rather sell it now because if more inflation's coming ahead, then that means I'm going to make less money if I dump bonds later. So it's going to be a race between all these countries to dump the dollar. So again, a bull market is not always led by, you know, print or go burr. You know, it's not always rate cuts. It's not always what the Fed could do. It's also what we could do with dollar holders. If we could reduce dollar holders, we could create the same effect as rate cuts. The Fed could literally rate pause and rate hike the next 8 meetings. They could rate hike the next 10 meetings if they want. But if we continue to reduce dollar holders, we will have the same effect as the rate cuts, and we will still have the same weakening of the dollar, which is what Trump's policy wants to be anyways. They want a weaker dollar. And they always say they want a weaker dollar because a lot of these other countries are manipulating their currencies at a lesser value anyways. So, you know, all they're doing is saying, well, if we keep our dollar value at this level and we keep it up here and all these guys are manipulating to go lower and lower and lower, we're getting killed in global trade. So we need to raise tariffs to equalize that deficit. So they put the tariffs there, and now the countries are saying, well, we just manipulated our currency to go lower, and you just charged the percentages that we were trying to make on that deficit. So now we're pissed off, so we'll just dump bonds. So we'll crash the dollar and we'll still make the money because we own all your debt anyways. You see what's happening? It's a royal flush. It's literally like, I've been talking about this for so long. Like, I feel like this is like the Roman Empire. Like, for real. Like, this is literally the way Caesar was murdered by like all his disciples next to him and stabbed him to death. Like, this is literally what's about to happen. And it's going to be the US. And the US is about to experience some bullshit, okay? You and I are in the right place. You and I may be parked in assets, okay? But everyone around you is about to get very poor, okay? I'm anticipating a 40% decline in the dollar. I'm thinking 68 cents, somewhere around there, okay? From ATH. ATH was 114. I think we'll hit 68 cents. But we're going to see some fucking crazy shit happen. We're going to see a lot of excuses. We're going to see these cyber attacks, these electricity shutouts. But what's happening is these banks are failing. And these banks are going to have bail-ins. And I've been warning people for a long time and for the past year that if you go back in time, let's go back in time to 2008, the Frank-Dodd Act, okay, was an act that said that the government can no longer bail out banks, okay? Well, they bailed out Silicon Valley because the FDIC was still there. At the time, we had $300 billion in the reserve. Now we have under, I think, 100 billion or something like that, okay? So it's still depleting. Trump comes into office, starts deregulating banks, and says, I want to abolish the FDIC. So they have the Frank-Dodd Act there, okay? They're going to remove the FDIC. If the banks fail, then they're going to fail, and they're going to take depositors' money. So I'm fucking telling you guys, there's going to be a bank bail-in. It's going to be fucking Great Depression 2.0. And a lot of people sit there and they say, well, you know, those people back then, they probably just weren't prepared. They didn't save their money. They did save their fucking money. They did everything they were supposed to do. They followed the system. They followed the law. They did everything they were supposed to do, and the government fucked them. That's what happened. The banks fucked them. That's what happened. They stole the depositors' money because they needed to pay their debtors. And because the government didn't bail them out, they took the money in your checking account. They took the money in your savings and your business's account. And that's why it's so important to self-custody your money. And that's why it's so funny when I hear so many plebs talk to me about money. They'll sit there and tell me shit like, well, Dion, you know, I can't wait to cash out and I want to put this much money in the bank. Why the fuck you want to put that money in the bank? Why? Why do you want to put that money in the bank? Your money is safer in a stable coin than it is in the bank. The banks are illiquid. The banks are lending money 99% to one. Okay? So out of every dollar you put in, they're lending 99 cents out. Okay? So a bank bail-in is coming. Okay? It's going to come. And there's going to be excuses. We have a cyber attack. There's electricity shutouts. But you're not going to have fucking access to your apps. Well, we're shut down for maintenance this day. We're shut down for maintenance. There's liquidity issues happening. That's what's really fucking happening, and they don't want to tell you. So I'm trying to tell you guys, stop trusting these banks. A bank bail-in is happening, and the government is setting you up so they are not responsible. They've been doing it since '08, and they've been setting the chess pieces in place. So they could say, hey, we fucking told you guys. We told you guys since '08. We said, oh, wait, we weren't going to bail you out. And then we just said we were going to abolish the FDIC, which is supposed to cover depositors up to $250K. Now no one's covered, and we want to make sure that banks fail because they're doing the wrong thing. We're deregulating. So they're preparing to not bail out banks, okay? So the last place your money should be is in the fucking banks, okay? So again, you know, when you're going to be taking profits or you're going to be parking money at some point or whatever, stable coins. I trust USDC. I rather trust USDC than Tether. Tether has some regulation issues, so I want to stay away from that. I don't want to have any issues having access. Although what's funny is, like, as stupid as it is, Tether has more liquidity than anything in the world has seen in hundreds of years. Like, a lot of people talk shit about Tether, but they literally processed over 1 billion cash within a day. within hours. There is no bank in the world in history of humankind that has ever been able to survive a bank run within hours, over $1 billion cash withdrawal. They weren't able to. But that's the power of crypto, okay? Your banks can do, if all of us, okay, if all of us went to go pull out just $1 million, there would be a fucking problem. That's how bad it is. If all of us were just want to pull out $1 million, or let's say all of us together total 10, 20 million, there'd be a fucking problem at the banks. So again, the liquidity problem is with the banks. The banks are insolvent and they're preparing to rob you. Okay, I'm going to repeat this one more time. The banks and the government, they are preparing to rob you. Okay, they've already put every law in place to rob you and completely wipe their hands free of all responsibility. FDIC is out the window. Frank Dodd Act is there. Banks are illiquid. Tariffs are going on. Inflation's about to rip. There's a lot of shit about to go down. So again, the economy is about to crash. We're in recession. A lot of shit's going to go down. We're going to go up, okay? See, that's the cool part about this. While the debt bomb explodes on everybody's faces, we're going to go up. Our assets are going to go through the fucking roof. But it's going to be a shit show on the ground level, okay? Just want to put that out there. So again, all right, so biggest picks. Guys, we're going to melt up, okay? We're going to crash up. Prices going up isn't always people buying your coin, okay? Prices going up is also your exchange rate for your national currency, whatever it is, okay? Whether it's American, whether it's Canadian, your profits are measured on the exchange rate of your currency, okay? So I know you guys listen to a lot of Teletubby fucks out there that don't know shit about finance. They don't know shit about economics. They have no idea what the fuck's going on, okay? Literally. They're just queers that get behind a camera and say, I make calls every week, right? Okay, cool. Look, I'm trying to tell you, what's gonna pop off harder? A large cap or a small cap, okay? When we start to inflate crazy, okay? The smallest caps are gonna inflate the craziest because it's not about, see, yes, there's gonna be buyers. Yeah, there's gonna be buyers, but when the dollar starts crashing, the most compression, the biggest gains, I'm talking 100, 150x type shit, you're gonna see some explosive shit, okay? It's gonna be in the small caps. And a lot of that growth is not gonna be led by people buying. It's gonna be led by the dollar crashing over the next year, okay? Because the prices that you see today are a predication of a 103 USD exchange rate, okay? For Americans. For Americans, it's a 103 USD exchange rate. So the price you're looking at right now is based on a $103 exchange rate. When the dollar crashes and we start going down to 80, 70 cents, we're gonna go parabolic. It's gonna go astronomical, okay? Shit's gonna be going through the fucking roof, okay? So you better pack your bags now while we're over 100 cents, while the dollar is oversaturated, because Canada is the first domino, and then it's gonna fucking trickle down. Japan, who knows how fast they're gonna do it? Who knows? But again, look, my favorite picks, Pols, P-O-L-S, DIA, D-I-A-S-D, Stater, S-D, Arc Block, ABT, Dragon Chain, MYC, all day, okay? So guys, small caps are going to be the most explosive picks that you could possibly get. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to share it. I wanted to make this one quick, but I wanted to slam it in the face about some deep financial shit to let you guys know what's going on, to warn you, but also so that way you guys understand where the growth is going to come from. The growth is not only going to come from buyers, okay? It's not going to come from retail. Okay? It's not only going to come from institutions and governments. Okay? It's going to come from high ass inflation. Okay? High ass inflation. Inflation is an investor's best friend because inflation makes asset prices go through the roof because the dollar value goes down and your asset prices go up. You get it? Okay, guys, look, I'll catch you guys on the next one.